Road to Possible presents Road to Equality.
Okay, so to talk about my Black experience in Canada as an African immigrant, I came here when I was just a few months old. So you could say I had the benefit of not really realizing just how potent racism was in the world, or at least in my world at the time. I always, in elementary school, I always said I'm colorblind. I don't really see race and all of that. Because in my experience, I had friends of all different races and all different creeds and cultures, and for the most part, it was quite positive. And in my mind, I wanted to at least believe that racism didn't really exist, or not to the extent that it was in America compared to Canada. Based on the media and what they show. So, for the most part, it was quite positive. But then, once I got to high school and started to learn more about racism, or once, people started to pinpoint the differences in our skin and our cultures, then I started to have to realize that, racism is it's very much alive, just a little under the sleeve in Canada, at least. So being taught racism in high school, you learn about the KKK, and everything historically is about what happened in America, not so much what happens in Canada. Or when you talk about Canada, it's more the indigenous aspect, right? More now so than before, which is, something that we've been needing to talk about for a long time, and finally we are more now, rather than pretending that Canada's the nice guy or nice girl, right? But that was something hard for me to really grasp, the fact that, racism is real, there are differences in the way that we look at each other, and that's something that we do need to talk about, and if we're willing to talk about it, then we can heal each other. My first experience of, racism for me was just walking behind someone, a lady with, she had a bag on one side of her, and we were walking down the sidewalk, and I was maybe about 6 feet away from her, and then she looked back, kind of gasped, and then quickly moved the bag to the other side. It was a light gasp, but it was enough for me to notice that she felt uncomfortable with me. And that was one of the first times that I started to realize that I'm looked at differently, And this is pre-accident, right? This is pre my disability. And then I started to have to work with that, and I went through a lot of anger and disappointment, about the way the world looked at life, and realizing the way blacks have been treated in the past and present, but then also trying to be able to separate how historically people think and how people want to change now. So I always try to stick with the positive thoughts in that case. But then post accident, I find sometimes there's a lot of pity towards me, rather than empathy, which is what I strive for, rather than pity. I don't want sympathy or pity. But, then I guess I'm looked at less as a threat, not having arms. And I've noticed that change too in the way people look at me and the way people treat me. It's also interesting to think about even the way I speak, Sometimes some people will say, "Oh, you speak so well," and I know what they're implying is he speaks so well for a black guy, which is deeply insulting. But it is what it is. But it is disappointing to think that people just have the people that made those remarks are so sort of surprised and astonished that a black person can have proper speech or be a little eloquent, in the way they speak, and just have these sort of assumptions about folks, which is very backwards, I'm thinking. Post accident, thinking of an experience on set one day. I find I always have to defend myself and try to show that I am on par with an able-bodied person, someone who doesn't have a disability. You don't have to feel sorry for me. You don't have to hold the door for me. If I need help, I'll ask for it. But, on set I did have this experience of having to fight for a position that I wanted on set physically. I just wanted a little higher, a little more elevation. So I had to sit on this on top of this car. But there was this major concern from the AD about whether I could do it or not, and I really had to stand up for myself and say, you know what? If I'm offering to do this, I think I can do it. And there was a little push and pull, but eventually I got my way and got a little kudos and knock on the back from my castmates. But the fact that I had to do that was a little unfortunate. So I just hope we can get to a point where I can, or any disabled person can really speak for themselves and not have people speak for them. And then we're really trying to get to that sense of equality, right? So.
No justice!
Thank you for being
No
here.
justice! No justice! No justice! No justice!
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. Make sure to reach out to us with your comments and feedback.